Welcome back to lesson 7, teaching from the heart. Now, the importance of teaching from the heart cannot be over exaggerated. So once we have the knowledge and we have the teaching practice under our belts, we can relax our minds. We can ground into the moment, and we can connect into our hearts and into our intuition. And when we do that and we find our true authentic teaching style, our oxytocin levels increase, and our teaching practice not only flows and is in sync, but it is fun, it is enlivening, it's rejuvenating, it's an absolute joy. So teaching from the heart means we are literally feeling into what we are offering and what we are communicating in a really authentic, truthful, and inspiring way. We are embodying the very essence of our classes. When all of that knowledge drops down and becomes unconscious competence, we can literally sit within our heart space and deliver our classes, and they become much more creative, and they become like truly in response to the students that we're teaching. It's like we're following an invisible thread, if you like, and we're using all of our senses, and we feel into what is appropriate and what we instinctively know is true and what we will do next. We kind of offer ourselves up to the flow of the teaching, if you like, and it flows and it feels good, and we can follow our hearts, and we can stick to our schedules and what we need to do when we need to do it. It just fits, and it's just a good way to be teaching. So there's a few kind of key role models, things, to put into place, and one of them, which I find really good, is to practice what you preach. So by doing the meditations, by doing the course yourself, by having a mindful practice in your own life, you know what it's like to be vulnerable. You know what it's like to be real in the moment when the all of that stuff arises within you that you weren't expecting. You know what it's like. And so because you do, you can give your students permission, by being that within yourself, by being that vulnerable, authentic person that happens to be leading these classes. You can give your students permission to be that too. um, yes, you need to hold the space, for people that are having emotional reactions to the meditations and things that is going up, but don't go in and save them, like we spoke about in the last lesson. Hold the line, if you like, for the rest of the students to be able to hold that space too. You are really the captain of the ship, and it all starts and stops with you. So being both the learner and the teacher is a really fine line to follow, but when you do, and you do it well, it can show the students that they too are both the learner and the teacher. It takes you off that pedestal that some students can place you on. Um, and 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 also, it kind of just opens up the doorways to say that we all have valuable wisdom, valuable knowledge, valuable learning that we can bring to the group. And saying statements like, we're going to do this together, can support a really great team mentality. So taking oneself off the teacher's pedestal, if you like, you're sitting in circle with everybody else. Yes, it so happens that you've done extensive teacher training and that you're delivering these classes, and you have whatever else in your in your toolbox. But at the same time, we are always learning and we are always teaching. And that is a beautiful line to follow, and really opens that up for your students to be in that space as well. The other kind of role model, value, I suppose, that I have, that I do my best to stick to, is avoiding judgment or giving advice or solutioneering problems or situations that can arise from the student's experience, allowing that space for it to be without judgment and without trying to save it, them, situation, without trying to save it or heal it in any way, just literally having that container to for whatever it is that the student is experiencing to just be held and witnessed and acknowledged, is massive in this day and age, is huge. Don't underestimate it. We don't have to solve and heal everything. Some things actually just need to be heard and seen, and it's really, really important. So be the leader on that. The other one I really love, I just love creating a really friendly environment, an atmosphere. I always thank my students for coming, sharing their experiences, their information, for asking questions. I really encourage openness, and absolutely fine if people do not want to share as well. I reiterate that in every one of my classes. The energy in the room truly starts and stops with you. And just remember that no one's perfect, so share that. When as a trainer, you will experience times where you just can't remember where you are. You've been so into this meditation and you've been doing it, or you might have to check your manual to see where you're going. That's all right. It's human. Something might come up and you too might feel those big emotions arising. It's okay to show that. It's okay to be real. Nobody is perfect, but it makes our classes even more real and even more needed, to show your vulnerability as and when, within the space of being the teacher and the boundary maker and all of those other stuff. But being real is really, really important, because when you teach from the heart, we are literally honoring the open-heartedness and the sacred energy of each and every student that comes and sits on your mat, and you connect in with them more deeply, and you're literally offering them a wholehearted support, um, and the more you tap into your heart and you're open-hearted, as within so without, as without so within, it makes our classes genuine and loving and kind and real. So teaching from the heart is the place we come from when we teach, and once we learn how to tune into this, once we learn how to ground ourselves and lean into ourselves and our vulnerability just that little bit more, each time we run these classes, we're teaching a little bit more from our heart and less from our head. It will come much more easier and much more naturally, and basically you'll be connecting authentically with each one of your students, in each moment, in each class, in each session. The more you tap into your authentic self, the more you can tap into the students that are in your space. So the other thing as well I like to do is I like to reflect on my teaching, on that class. I love journaling, so sometimes I'll just sit in my car and just jot down a few notes, things that have been aha moments, either for me personally or for the student, where I think that I can use this to inform my next classes and how I teach. So I always reflect on how well I did, what could I have done differently next time. It all helps shape you as a mindfulness and meditation teacher. It helps shape you as a human being. So yeah, so those are a few of my top tips on how to teach from the heart. Again, the more we just teach, the easier and easier that becomes. The more we really get to understand our knowledge base, and that's gone in and we know what we're doing, we can then, it frees us up to drop down deep into our bodies and drop down into our heart and come from that space. So thank you for your attention, and I will see you in lesson 8. Thank you.